What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight With Him podcast. Today's guest is Jacob the Bull Brown. He is a brown belt under the Mendes brothers. Thank you so much, man, for coming on and talking. Really excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Of course,
it.
man. So, again, just like every other show, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah. Of course, I'm here. Jacob the Bull Brown. So the way I started in jiu-jitsu was I was bullied at a young age, at like 6 years old. I say this a lot of times, but it's really just how my whole life starts, you know. And I just went back to my parents because I didn't know what to do after being bullied. And they took me to my aunt, which she's a Newark police officer,
Uh-huh.
and she took me back to her academy, and they do jiu-jitsu there. They were all police officers, and I just started learning to train with them and trained with her, and she taught me a lot, and I kind of just loved it on from there. And I just my parents wanted to stay in it, and then just kind of had a passion for it at that age, and just kept going with it.
So, how old were you when you first got started? Like, when you first went to the gym, how old were you?
6,
6.
yes,
That's crazy.
yeah,
To be able to like identify that you're passionate about something at such a young age is like
hmm
is what people at 40 years old are still seeking.
yeah,
That's honestly a blessing, and
yeah.
it's huge, man. What about it made you so passionate about it? Like, why did you like it? What
Mm.
about it made you feel like, okay, I can be good at this?
I think it's just at the moment it's I have so many stages of like feelings for jiu-jitsu,
Mm-hmm.
but like for that specific time and for how young I was, it was more like I just needed to feel like I needed to defend myself. I needed to know how to not get picked on if it happens again.
Yeah.
You know, that was always in my head. I was too young to think about anything else.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to get bullied. And but as time went by and time progressed and getting older, I was just like I'm seeing a change in jiu-jitsu. I'm seeing things change. Everything's around me is changing, and then I started to take it more seriously, and then I started doing more tournaments, and then it just went to like a competitive aspect. And then that's when I realized, oh, I want to do it more like professionally now.
Yeah.
Now that I know already like street defense, self defense, because that's how I did it before. Because there's like two different sides of jiu-jitsu. There's like the professional side of like elegant techniques and the art of
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, you know. But before I used to do like street style. So I don't know. It kind of just depends on like my environment, I guess. And I would say yeah.
What's crazy though is that when you got started, jiu-jitsu wasn't where it is now with competitions and the money you can make and how well known it is. I think the cool thing about mixed martial arts is that it's evolving into like an actual sport. Like it's looked at and respected as an actual sport. And now jiu-jitsu has also been given that platform where it's like you can compete and you can make a living doing this, whereas
Yeah.
before you couldn't. Like in wrestling, you still kind of can't. Like if you don't go to the Olympic trials or go to make the Olympic team, like what do you do after? You do either fight or join the WWE. Like
Yeah.
there's no outlet for professional, quote unquote, professional wrestling,
Uh-huh.
And so I think it's really, really cool that you were able to get that. Just a super selfish question. Did you get bullied again after you started training?
No, it's funny. I never got bullied ever since I was that age.
For
Like,
real?
yeah, growing up, I never got bullied
Yeah.
again. Like I've had the only thing I've like came close to that. It was maybe like I've had like a few bad friends around me like in middle school, and
Yeah.
you know they will always try to like, hey, can you fight this person for me because he's picking on me. I'm like, nah, you know, like they would try to use my skills, and
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, man, I don't know what's going on in your personal situation. I don't want to get involved, you know.
I went through, so I was a knucklehead growing up. I got in a ton of trouble. I got in a ton of fights. And so when I started to fight, I was like, "Oh man, I could beat these guys up." And it was a complete wrong mentality to have. You don't want to go through that.
Yeah,
And thinking you're just a hard ass and you can just beat whoever up and doesn't matter what skill set he has like that. And I went through that for a little bit. My first boxing coach was a little Cambodian dude. He was 5'2". I mean, maybe.
okay.
And we hop in the cage and he goes, "All right, first day of practice, let's get in the cage. Let's spar." So I'm like, "Okay, cool, let's spar." So we go spar and I'm ready, right? I'm thinking like I'm gonna whoop this dude. Like this guy's nothing.
Mhm.
And I go to throw, and as I go to throw, he already hit me twice and is already over here. And I turn around and I'm like, "Okay, cool, I'm gonna whoop you." I go to throw and he's already over here. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh my goodness, like
yeah.
teach me how to do that." The point I'm trying to make is, did you earn a respect for the art at the higher your talent got, knowing that the discipline it takes and the work ethic it takes to be successful is really, it's a ton of dedication that goes into it.
Hmm. Yeah, I did get a lot of my respect, as I got better throughout the sport, and as I was taking it more serious, people looked at me differently,
Yeah.
and like it's funny because at first when I was young, they used to look at me like I was the bully,
Yeah.
like even in school, all the teachers thought I was like a bad person to be around. Like they thought I was like this kid looks like a bad, like he shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like, cause I was
Yeah.
I was intimidating. I had a
Yeah.
mohawk as well, so it's
Oh,
like
for real?
yeah, people thought I was always this bully. I know, but that's why I got the afro, so I like my afro now.
Yeah.
But yeah, growing up, I mean, as you were saying, that what was the last part you said? Go back to
Just the like dedication, and did you earn a respect for it in a different way? Because a lot of guys will
yeah.
learn it and then they'll go use it on the street. They'll be like, "Oh, I did boxing. I know how to
Oh
box.
yeah,
I'm gonna go fight this dude,"
yeah,
because they haven't trained or competed at a high level.
yeah.
So then they become bullies because now they know how to do something.
Yeah, well,
You know
that's
what I
it.
mean?
Well, that's the thing is like with me, well, because where I grew up at, jiu-jitsu and judo on the East Coast, or even everything on the East Coast, like wrestling and stuff. I grew up in a very humbled environment.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu humbles you at such a young age, and especially judo, like they teach you a lot. Like you're just kind of mentally mature. I mean, not that like a kid should be like super mature as an adult, because you want to live your life as a kid and everything.
Yeah.
But it's like more like you know how to act when you need to.
Hmm.
So it's like if I was around I was always growing up with my older siblings, and I had great parents, and so I just already knew like how to control myself when it came to like people trying to test me or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I had patience.
Yeah.
There's the people that do the sports or jiu-jitsu, and they have a lot of anger issues. It's not their fault. I mean, people have to work on their anger issues. I used to have anger problems when I was young, but I learned to control that while doing jiu-jitsu, and I just people have more respect for me for controlling my anger, controlling everything about me. Self-control.
Yeah. I've never asked this, and being a dad, I have 3 kids. My son just graduated high school, so shout out to you, Alex. Good for you.
Congrats,
What
congrats.
what did your parents, or what kind of a role? Pops is in the building, guys. You just can't see him on camera.
Mhm.
But what like seeing that now and being older, I'm sure they took you to tournaments. I'm sure they took you to practice every day. I'm sure they spent a ton of money
Yeah.
on things that you wanted. Now being older and having gone through that, what kind of appreciation do you have looking back on it now?
Oh man, there's so much to appreciate from them. They pretty much did everything for me, like my whole life. They was
Yeah.
there. They supported me like in every way possible. I mean, there's just not enough ways to say thank you. I mean, all I could do now is make all the money they spent on me and give right back to them.
Because
Yeah.
and the reason I ask that is
Yeah.
because, and I talk about it all the time, people see you under the lights. When you
Yeah.
go and fight, they see you when you're in the cage under the lights. They're not there in training camp. They're not there when you're fighting with your wife and you're arguing about your schedule and what you have to eat and your film sessions and how many times you're training and all the sacrifices you're making and saying no to the tamales on Christmas. Like, they don't go through that with you. They just see you competing on the mat.
Yeah.
They don't know what you went through. They don't know what injuries you have, and I think it's a beautiful thing now that there's cameras everywhere. Like, obviously there's good and bad to it, but you can now document that whole journey and kind of give people a behind the scenes look
Yeah.
into what you're going through and what it takes to compete at that. And I
Yeah.
feel like in turn people have more of an appreciation for athletes in general, but specifically in jiu-jitsu and MMA and in those combat sports, if you will,
Yeah.
because it's a grind. It takes a lot. Like being 21 and having the discipline to want to go train and want to go compete when all your friends are going through college, they're all probably partying, they're all probably making stupid decisions.
That's another thing. Yeah.
It's like, what do you want? I always tell people, like, if you can identify why you want something, how becomes easier. It's
Hmm.
still going to be a struggle. You're still going to battle
Yeah.
things and thoughts and have temptations and have people invite you, especially the more followers you get and the bigger name you start creating for yourself, there's going to be more and more temptations. Who do you have in your corner to kind of keep you humble or keep you in check when you do get those temptations?
Yeah, I've definitely had my problems like in the past with a lot of temptations for a lot of problems and different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, my parents were always there to keep me in check when I
Yeah.
was young, when I was getting older, like especially like in most teenagers or at least a lot of teenagers in their that early stage of the teenage years growing up.
Yeah.
I was like so problematic back then because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know like I didn't even know where I was going with jiu-jitsu. It was like around like maybe like early green belt stage. I was like in the stage where I was like, am I even still good at jiu-jitsu? I was like kind of like I was in my head with myself, right? And my,
Yeah.
my parents they would always ask me, hey, like how do you feel? Like do you still love the sport? You still have passion for it? And I was just like, I don't know. Like I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And then over time, I looked back and I was like, I don't know where I even was, but now I feel better than before. Like I kind of like rebuilded myself
Mm-hmm.
because I also went to therapy as well at that age because I wasn't sure. I was like, I'll tell my therapist I've been doing this sport so long. I don't know if I'm feeling burnt out or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, everybody gets burnt out and stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's a normal feeling. But it was like for me, if I felt even though I was feeling burned out at the time, it was like I still didn't want to quit. There was something in there that didn't make me want to
Yeah.
quit, and I didn't know what it was at the time. So I was just full of confusion. And so that's when I would talk to my dad and my mom, and they would just tell me all the reasons why I'm here now, and like they would just give me the confidence to stay. There was no force, there was no nothing. I wasn't forced to stay in it. It was all my choice. But it was like they had the support to tell me, hey, you got all of this in your life and you did all this hard work. Just think about like all everything you did and just it's all on you.
Do you remember anything specific that you had to do to kind of dig that out or to figure out because obviously that feeling, that passion is deep inside you, right? When you're
Yeah.
going through those teenage years, you want to go do what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
What specifically do you remember where you were just like, man, because of this or because of this situation or because of this match or because of my goals, this
Yeah.
is what I have to like. How'd you dig it out? Is what I'm asking.
Of course. I think what really makes me think about like these certain moments that make me don't want to ever quit is when I have like certain people reach out to me or like certain fans that would be really inspired from all the work I've done or even from jiu-jitsu to be like, hey, like your fights or like something on another level. Like I wish I could do that. And it's just like fan support really give me like the love, and I love watching people, get better because whatever it is that I do or the sport or how I train motivates them, makes me
Yeah.
happy, right? And even my own brothers, they can't do jujitsu or they can't do any type of fighting activities or anything like that because they have hemophilia, which is a rare bleeding disorder, and it kind of just even not even kind of it just drove me more to do jujitsu for as long as I've been doing it since I started because they can't do jujitsu and they've been wanting to. And it's like if they can do it, I'm the only one in the family that can really do it, and I would do it for me, do it for them. Just kind
Mm-hmm.
of it has so many purposes to it
So you
too.
had a purpose to do it.
Yeah, of course.
Is there to play devil's advocate?
Yeah.
The other coin, the other side of that coin is do you feel pressured to do it because they can't do it?
I don't feel pressured because they can't do it. Like there is pressure in jiu-jitsu like when it comes to like winning in major tournaments when you have like when your team's like, counting on you or when your team's like hoping you're gonna win when your family wants you to win. There's a lot of pressure there and stuff, but that's normal, right? I'm like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. But I was more motivated because my
Mm-hmm.
brothers couldn't do it. I was like, damn, well let me like make everybody happy. I make myself happy, like I want everybody to just be happy. And I want to love my craft and I learned to love it. I wasn't forced, like I said. I grew up in it and I loved it as I kept going on.
Yeah. But I mean that's also one of the rarest quality in a leader is being a servant leader.
Yeah.
You have to want to do things for others and let that be a motivating factor as to why you do things. And that's going to push you further than you just being like, oh, I want a six pack. I want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I have three kids. I got to get healthy. I want to be there for my kids. I want to have a long life so I can experience them getting married and going off and building their future. That motivational factor is going to push you further than having selfish motivational factors, which is just I want to look good naked and I want to have a six pack. Like that can only take you so far. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? When you have a real purpose and a real reason as to why you do things, that's what's gonna make you different. Because when you're competing at a high level, you always want that little edge Chael Sonnen talks about it all the time. Like he said, he took steroids so he could have that little edge over his competition.
Mm.
And it's like, I'm not saying take steroids. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is you need to have some. You're always looking for something to kind of push you over the edge, because when you compete at a high level, they've been training just as long. They're just as talented.
Yeah.
They're just as disciplined. It's like, what's going to set you apart? What's going to separate you from them? Obviously, in your case, you have a one of the best teams in the nation, if not the world, and you
Mhm.
have people to hold you accountable. So talk about that. Where are you training now, and
Yeah.
kind of why did you choose to go to where you're at now?
Yeah. So I train at Art of Jiu-Jitsu in Costa Mesa, and well, it goes a long way back. When I came from the East Coast back in 2013, right? And so the East Coast training is a lot different from the West Coast. I can say that because
Yeah,
when I was training the East Coast, it was a way different style of jiu-jitsu. I was doing like more like self-defense, like street style jiu-jitsu, like combative, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then when we came here in 2013 to the West Coast, it was my first time going to AOJ. I was doing a complete different style. I was doing moves like I wasn't allowed to do there,
Mm,
which is I was like really shocked because it was like I didn't know what else to do. That was the only jiu-jitsu that I knew from the East Coast. And they taught me like a whole new style of West Coast jiu-jitsu
yeah,
because it was more for like the tournaments, IBJJF style, things you can do like that. And it took a long time for me to get used to, but it was great for both, like mixing in the East Coast and West Coast jiu-jitsu because now I know both sides of like how to fight
mm-hmm,
professionally in the competition world and then the self-defense world,
yeah,
realistically. So that was fun to learn, and it was mainly just like for my career purpose of the whole lifestyle. Like they had it all here in Cali and AOJ. I was like meant to be there since I was young, and it just helped me a lot improve in jiu-jitsu
yeah.
overall.
I know you had mentioned you got bullied when you were 6. You started jujitsu when you were 6. Talk to me about those different phases, because even though you're 21, you've gone through multiple phases in your jujitsu journey. So like obviously when you're getting bullied, like that's your motivation, right? Like,
Yeah.
so how do you stay motivated now? Like what motivates you now versus what motivated you when you got started?
Well, well it's funny because like what motivates me now is just that now I'm just always working and I'm happy to I'm really just happy in my craft. I'm just
Yeah,
happy to be
yeah,
in it, and I've been doing it so long that I don't want to leave anymore because I still want to get my black belt, and there's still more things that I want to do. Like I'm not done yet. You know what I mean? I have a lot to do
yeah.
still. I want to still get my own academy when I reach black belt within a few amount of years of trying to get black belt world titles. And after I would accomplish those, getting my own academy at black belt
Mm-hmm.
would just be the biggest thing to me, because that would be like all my work, and I can finally open my gym, and everybody that wanted to train with me, like fans and family and friends, they can all finally come visit me in my
Yeah,
gym. It's just something I've been thinking about since I was young, and
that's
that's something
dope.
I still want to go with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you deal with certain setbacks or failures if you lose a match at a big tournament?
Mhm.
Like how do you deal with that?
Oh, I look at it as hey, today wasn't my day. I just go back to the gym and I just keep focused on what I was learning or things that I feel like I missed out, or
Mm-hmm.
it could be like techniques, it could be drills. Just feel like go back and work on those, or just kind of get back in the rhythm. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't. I don't really look at it as like, oh, I'm gonna just like not do anything about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just gonna sit back and do nothing. No, no, I go back and then just kind of I'm back in the work.
Because it's hard, a lot of times I've been around athletes and even myself, when you lose a fight or you lose a competition and you don't want to do anything.
Oh
You're
yeah,
like,
I get
screw
that.
the world, screw you guys. I need a break. I need to take some time off.
Yeah,
Like you pour so much into something, and for you not to get the outcome that you want is heartbreaking.
it
It,
is.
it's
Yeah,
devastating. I mean, call it what you want to call it. I've cried after fights that I've lost by decision. I'm
I get that.
like just desperate.
Yeah.
But come Monday, you're motivated to get back in there. If you're not injured or hurt, you
Mhm.
go back in there and you go watch tape and you drill and do all that stuff. And so it's awesome, but who's in your corner? Like what have you kind of set yourself up with, that when that does happen, do you have steps that you take or things that you do after something doesn't go your way to make sure that that doesn't happen again?
Yeah. Like after situations like that, I mean, if I'm gonna talk to like anybody really, it's really just my parents. Like my
Mm-hmm.
parents are everything. Like I say, like
Yeah.
no matter the case, like it could be in everything, and just I'll be like, hey, I would literally have conversations with my parents like, hey, we gotta talk, and then we talk, and then it wouldn't even be just about jiu-jitsu in general. It's just in general. That's how it is, right? Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
very close to them. I'm very close to my family and everything. But when it comes to jiu-jitsu, me personally, if I don't have really anybody by my side besides my parents, I still, my team is still there. I still go back and train with my teammates, and sparring and all that. And it's really, I'm just like, I'm still focused, like nothing really. I don't have a lot of setbacks that's really gonna pull me down. I kind of
Yeah,
just go back and I do what I always do.
that's a great perspective to have,
Yeah,
and I commend you for that, for being such a young man and having
yeah. Thank you.
that perspective. It's good because a lot of people don't.
Yeah,
A lot of people would just go do stupid things, go smoke, drink,
yeah,
get lost, need to go find myself,
yeah.
and go do dumb things. And it's all that's gonna do is either sidetrack you
hmm
or completely derail you from the things that you want to go accomplish. So it's really cool, man. Have you
Yeah.
identified? You had mentioned that you want to have your own school, get your black belt. Is there a time frame that you want for that? Like, what are your goals as far as like the future is concerned and what you want to accomplish?
Uh-huh. It's hard to really put a time frame on it, but
Yeah.
I just know when I achieve my black belt, the first thing I'm gonna do is obviously when the world title, when the world championship tournaments come around
Mm-hmm.
like yearly, I want to win as much of those as I can, at least try to get like four or more, and
Yeah.
then open up my academy at black belt because I want to have some world titles under my black belt before I open up my own gym.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. If
Yeah.
I can give you one piece of advice, don't say that you want, say that you're going to.
Uh-huh.
And then just change that little word seed, be like everyone wants, but it's having that confidence to say I am going to. Like I'm gonna win these world championships. I'm gonna be a black belt. I am going to do these things. And that was actually taught to me in business because I was always like, "Oh, I want an office space. I want to make X amount of dollars every month. I want to do that." And then my buddy's like, "Don't say I want. If you say you want, like everyone wants something,
Yeah.
say you did. Speak it into existence like it already happened,
Yeah.
and say like I am a 4-time world jiu-jitsu champion. I have my own gym. I have 200 members. And then work towards that. You're not being big-headed. You're not being conceited. You're not walking around saying I'm the ish. All you're doing is saying this is what I believe, and I have full faith that I'm going to go do these things and accomplish these things because I'm willing to work for them. Now you can't say I am going to do something and not just do anything, nothing.
Yeah.
That it doesn't work that way. So
I get that.
anyway, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years, jujitsu wise?
Jiu-jitsu wise. Well, I'm still gonna keep my training as always. That's never gonna stop. I mean, I won't stop training until I'm like older. Like I'll probably
Yeah,
retire like
yeah,
30. I don't know.
yeah.
There's not really a
I'm
time limit on
37,
that.
man. Don't
Yeah.
say 30's old.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I mean,
Who said old?
as far as
Yeah, I'm
I
about
know.
to walk out. It's your show now.
But I mean, as far as it comes to like competing and training, it's gonna be like that for another 5 years,
Yeah,
and I'm still gonna be competing a black belt. Still got a long way to go, and until I get my, a couple world titles, I'm going to get my world titles at
yeah.
black belt, right? Then that's when I open up my own academy, and then it'll be known. Let everybody know on Instagram. Follow it, Jacob the Bull Brown.
Do it.
Always needs to stay updated on that. YouTube, Twitter, all of that. And yeah, I mean that's how it's gonna be for the future.
How do you see? I mean, just to try to play like say you can tell the future, where do you see the sport going? Just because, like, for instance, MMA back when it started, UFC started in '93. Hoist Gracie, Noah Jiu
Yeah,
Jitsu, and then the sport evolved a little bit until there was a period of time where like wrestlers took over,
oh,
and
yeah,
then there was a period of time where like these athletes, these kids that were coming up doing MMA. It wasn't a wrestler trying to focus on striking or a striker trying to focus on jiu-jitsu. There was these kids, I would say like in the mid 2010s, in that era where it was like kids that were coming up doing MMA.
hmm
And now you're getting athletes, like full on athletes that are choosing the sport of MMA over traditional sports like baseball and football and basketball and all that. And they're now you're getting these like super athletes, right? Where
yeah.
where do you see jujitsu as a sport evolving to in competition and things like that?
I could see jiu-jitsu becoming like a really big like league sport, like Olympics.
Yeah,
Like in the future.
yeah.
Because I mean, there's an Asian Olympic Games, you know, like for
Yep.
jiu-jitsu. But like I hope to see it become Olympics like worldwide, like
Yeah.
you know, like there is for wrestling. You know, like they got that. I hope jiu-jitsu gets there in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I want it to go. That's where I want to see it. And it just gives a better opportunity for a lot of us jiu-jitsu fighters to really go
Yeah.
somewhere with it to make a nice living out of jiu-jitsu as well.
Yep.
And it just gives people more of an open chance to live a awesome lifestyle,
Yeah.
and a grateful one too, because you work so hard in jiu-jitsu, you just feel like all that work would just pay off
Yep.
even more.
Where do you go, like when you're training and say you want to learn something new, or because at some point, I think everyone's kind of creativity, especially in combat sports, you want to start thinking outside the box, right? You don't
Hmm.
want to do all the traditional things and all the normal things. Do you go to a coach and say, "Hey, I checked this move out," because everyone has their own style.
Hmm.
You know, like you, even though you might train at the same gym as a training partner, your style is going to differ from their style.
Yeah.
So where do you go? How do you go about kind of perfecting a new move, or wanting to gain knowledge in something else
Yeah.
while still being loyal to your school?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like kind of like learning just everything, you want to be mixed all around. I would just cross train as well.
Okay.
Like that's why I always did like a lot of wrestling as well.
Yeah.
But for jiu-jitsu, I would cross train like you know jiu-jitsu, cross train wrestling, judo, and that would just kind of help my game overall. You know,
Yeah.
just like learning from different coaches. But I'm also loyal to my own gym. You know, I'm always gonna train there. That's my main academy, and but I would just say throwing in a mix of all of these combat sports that I do, judo and wrestling especially, they help me the most in jiu-jitsu. Because I've been doing those for a while. I did wrestling for like 4 years and judo for like what 2 to 3 years. And yeah, I use those a lot in my game, and those kind of help me improve just overall. And yeah, I kind of just learned jiu-jitsu along the way with it, and my jiu-jitsu always improves on top of that. So
Yeah.
I mean, you can just imagine like put all those three together, and you got it.
That's awesome, man. That's a great answer.
Yeah, yeah.
I got nothing to say for that.
Thank you.
That's great. And
Yeah.
so where do you want to, like, do you want to stay in Cali after your black belt and all that stuff? Is that something that you want to do?
Yeah, after I get my black belt, I'm gonna stay in Cali.
Uh-huh.
So I plan to open my own gym somewhere here. Maybe it could be in OC, maybe somewhere around the lines. I'm not sure where exactly the academy will be at, but
Yeah.
I just know we're gonna have one.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
What else do you feel like you have to accomplish for you to, not to be satisfied, but for you to be like, okay, I've done this step. I can now move on to my next goal.
Well, that's when acting comes in,
Yeah.
movies, and that's why I'm in acting now. I've already done the two short films, as I told this in previous podcasts. But I mean, that's the next big step for me after jiu-jitsu. Like after I accomplish everything I wanted to, I
Mm-hmm.
will go into movies and use my skill set for movies all the way.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, that's like the next future.
What last couple questions is what message would you have for kids that are kind of battling their identity, don't know if they're confident enough to get into combat sports, but they like watching it. Like what message would you have for them?
Hmm. I would say like if any kid out there is wants to do jiu-jitsu or has a craft or something and feel like they're not sure where to go with it, I would just say like go practice before you really feel like you want to be fully in the sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like see if you like it, like feel it out basically. Because I mean that's what I did when I was younger. I was just feeling out the sport, just seeing how it's gonna go. Just go along with it. Like see where it's gonna go, see how you feel, and you'll be able to know. Like you'll be able to tell, hey, if this is for me or not.
Yeah.
Because that's how I mean it's kind of straight to the point for me. Because that's literally how I did it when I was young. Like my parents asked me, "Hey, do you love this? You want to stay in? You want to go in? Want to go out?" Like there was no pressure.
Yeah.
Like that. I would like
When did that happen for you? At what point or at what age were you like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm committed to this. Let's go full force.
that. I mean, that was when I would say like, well, I was like orange black belt, like
Okay.
around my orange belt stage for sure. That's when I was like, I fully want to be in this. Like I got a full
Yeah.
commitment.
That's great. Did you know what that meant when you made that commitment?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I was in my orange belt stages, I already knew that I was far into jiu-jitsu. I already knew I was up there.
Yeah.
Like I already knew. I knew I was good at jiu-jitsu. I knew my skill set. I knew I knew the potential that I had.
Yeah.
And my parents always told me like this kid is a beast. Like a lot of people would tell me that I'm just so good, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, it gave me a big confidence booster as such. Only at Orange, but I was so young,
Yeah.
so I was like, damn. I was like, this is for me then, you know?
Yeah.
Like this
How
is
do you deal with that without getting big headed? Like with everyone kissing your ass and telling you you're so good and you're
yeah,
so great and you can be the next champ.
yeah.
How do you still stay motivated doing it? Or does that motivate you because they believe in you?
It's a good motivation, yes. But the sport kept me humble,
Mm.
you know, especially being because I grew up in judo as well, judo and wrestling overall. Being in like three sports at the same time, I was
Yeah.
doing everything. So I was literally doing judo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and like just boxing. I was just throwing in every sport, every combat sport I can think of at a young age, and doing all of this together, growing up, kept me humbled, and that's why I
Yeah.
never got cocky. I never got like an attitude, an ego, or nothing.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm so humble the way I am now because I grew up in a very, very great environment and humble adults and everything.
Well, and I think that matters a ton. You know, you got to
Yeah.
have adults that are gonna discipline you when needed, gonna
Yeah.
support you and fluff you up when needed. Like as a parent, I know going through it now, there's so many crucial points that you don't see. I guess that you don't see behind closed doors or the
Oh yeah.
conversations that are had. And it's like, what are we gonna do? Like you could tell he's getting kind of cocky. Like, oh man, we gotta pull back.
Yeah. That's the
And
thing though.
so
It's like it's necessary that parents need to like
yeah,
be there
yeah.
when your kid is growing up in such a sport like that. Like you need to make sure that their mentality is in the right place and like where they're at and where they're thinking. It has to be, because it can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's bullies out there that know jiu-jitsu and they know what they're doing and they
Yeah.
use it for bad purposes, you know.
Yep.
There's bullies in the sport, so you got to be careful how you grow up
Yeah.
in
That's
that part.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, best of luck to you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and
Thank you.
share a little bit of your story and your journey and the things that you're going through. Man, we'll support you any way we can and
Thank
we'll
you.
always cheer you on. Plug out like where people can follow you, where they can find you if they want to train or just
Yeah. You can follow me on my Instagram, as I said before, Jacob the Bull Brown. Same thing goes for X, well, Twitter, and
mm-hmm.
YouTube, and yeah, just stay updated, stay tuned. There's gonna be a lot more coming in the future.
All right, sweet. And he's competing tomorrow. This
Yes.
episode will be out next week. What's the date today? He'll be competing June 15th, and so we'll make sure to do a little picture, a little post to go support him. If you guys are in the area here in Southern Cali, make sure you guys go support him. Thank you so much. Go follow him, go
Thank you.
support his journey, go track him, see what he's doing. And remember, guys, that everything was impossible till someone did it.